Good morning, redheaded step family. Today we're going to talk the truth. We're going to talk about what's really going on and actually what has been going on for quite a long time. If we go back to the 2020 Summer of Blood, I went through all of the news footage of the people who were arrested in each of the cities as the protesters, the BLM and Antifa, would protest this weekend in Seattle and next weekend in Chicago and the following weekend in New York. And it seemed like pretty much every week, but rarely simultaneously, did any of these protests across the country take place. And that is because the protesters, the core group of protesters, were not protesters at all. They were actually paid to destroy property, which actually moves them from protesters to terrorists. They're paid to demolish a city. And those same people I found and reported at the time at probably, we've had 16 channels taken down by YouTube. So that was probably channel number 4 or 5. This is channel number 17. It's probably the longest lasting channel that we've had. And so I pointed out that the exact same people were getting arrested and released by the George Soros DAs across the country. It was always the same people. And as a matter of fact, I did identify 2 of those people who were arrested that were at the January 6th debacle, and they were actually caught on film breaking windows and destroying property at the Capitol. The same exact people who, I will read that in a moment, Jams. I don't want to get distracted because if I read that, I'll be on but I'll be back and I will read everybody's comment. So I already got distracted. Here I go. So the people who destroyed the property at the Capitol were exactly the same people who were going across the country during the Summer of Blood in 2020 and destroying property in different cities. It was a core group of people. Those people were paid. Well, the people that were causing the destruction were paid by NGOs and in other nefarious ways, but all the money led back to Soros-backed organizations. Now, George is no longer in control. Now it's Alex Soros. And I am a peaceful man, and I wish no harm against anyone. But the sooner Alex Soros is erased from this earth, the sooner America can get back to normal. So those core people were constantly arrested. They were constantly let go the same night often. And the George Soros groups evolved into something larger to where they would actually have law students, people who were actually going to school to become lawyers, standing by every 50 feet, and they were easily identified because they would be wearing either a yellow vest in some cases. Some of them, and some of them I've seen, they were wearing aqua blue t-shirts. Sometimes they have purple t-shirts. Sometimes they have yellow t-shirts. And when you're arrested, what you do is you yell your name or what first it was your name, and then they advanced it to where you got like a serial number. So if you start something on fire and the cops cuff you, one of these people in a yellow vest or an a aqua t-shirt, there's 25 to 50 people standing around wearing the yellow vest or the aqua t-shirt. If you get arrested, they run up to you and you yell out your code number. They write down your code number, and then they can look up in the code book who you are and go bail you out of jail. So the people now, there is a very small group of the people at these protests who are not paid. They're just followers. They're people who are trying to belong, and the idea behind it is mob mentality. So if you are 10% who are there for free, and you're watching the 90% of the people start to throw bricks or Molotov cocktails or smash cop windows, chances are you're going to join in and you're going to do the same damage for free. Not knowing that the other 90% of the people are there getting paid. I just watched a video yesterday where a man was standing outside of a Tesla, and I've known that these people were being paid because I was offered through a company that provides extras for film. I was offered, it was 2016, 15, money to show up. Now, I have not heard or even worked for this company in probably almost 20 years. But they called me out of the blue and asked me if I wanted to go to a demonstration and hold a sign for 4 hours for $24 an hour. Now, a girl I used to be friends with, who happens to be African American, was offered the same job, but they only offered her $17 an hour. The black lady, $17. The white man, now they got both of our pictures on file. They know everything about us. The white guy was going to get $24 an hour, $7 more an hour than the black woman that they wanted to show up at the BLM protest. And I said, no, thank you. So you might have at any given protest 2 different core groups that are getting paid by 2 different entities. So one group might be getting paid, the BML people there, or people who are being paid to be BLM, or Antifa. Those people are getting paid through some nefarious NGO or some group like that, some type of Soros-backed group. And then me, if I was to show up there, I was being paid by the company that provides extras to films, and that company itself was hired by a Soros-backed group. So it all leads back to Soros. Everything leads back to Soros. Alex Soros, George Soros doesn't have his marbles together anymore enough to run it. And if you want to be disgusted, you could watch Alex Soros' dissertation to get his doctorate. I mean, in social studies, and it is disgusting how he holds Hitler and Stalin and all these disgusting people from history up as great men in this 3-hour dissertation that he does. There's actually 2 dissertations that he does. One for his master's, one for his doctorate, and they're disgusting, and they'll blow your mind. But these people are not protesters. They are there to cause havoc and damage and cause fear. Therefore, they are actually domestic terrorists, not protesters in any way, shape, or form. And how or why we don't have any government officials acknowledging this is beyond me, because it's pretty, at this point, pretty basic fact. Now, at the beginning, the core group that were being paid to cause havoc and terrorism on any given city, they were a smaller part of the group, because at the time it was a lot easier to get people to show up for these protests. So they've got 20 paid terrorists in out of 1,000 people. Okay, at the beginning of the Summer of Blood of 2020, the smallest part of the group was those people who are being paid. So you got 20 people being paid. Yes, let's say you got 500 people not being paid. But once those 20 people started havoc and terrorism, the other people would join in with the mob mentality. Now, as time went by, it got harder for the Soros organization to get people out there for free. So they had to grow the number of people that were actually getting paid to be there. So that's why in today's situation, it's 90% paid. And at this point, it's really their last dance. It's their last shot. They're putting all of their chips on red, and let's say black, because I'm red. I'm redheaded step stacker. So they put all their chips on black in hopes of actually causing some destruction and dismay on their way out. So everything that you're seeing, and this includes the fires in LA, those people that the Los Angeles fires didn't, there was nothing wild about those fires. Those were all arson. I have video of women, and the earmark for a person who has been in a senior terrorist in the Soros organization is they're wearing the black mask. They're wearing the COVID mask, and it's always black, and generally they're wearing all black clothes. A lot of times, if you see one with an umbrella, when they're showing up with an umbrella, those are paid protesters. When you're watching, I forget her name, the long blonde hair lady who shows up at these protests, and she puts the mic in front of people, and then someone will come over and say, don't talk to her. The person who comes up and directs that person not to speak to the woman interviewing people at these protests, that person is a paid Soros manager. Let's call her a manager of the group. And again, as I can't remember the woman's name, she's got long blonde curly hair. She's kind of thick, busty woman. She's a mom. Sometimes she has a bodyguard with her. I forget her name, but she has noticed that the same group managers are at all of these different protests that are protests for completely different subjects. So she says, I saw you at the last protest. I saw you. And the ones she always points out are the managers, the people who are directing the people being interviewed not to speak. So yes, maybe most of you know this, but it's important to say it out loud, that all of this is theater. None of those people, or most of those people, would not be there if they weren't getting paid. The coordinators or group managers are there to stand by for some groups, some of these protests are intended to have mischief, and some of them are intended not to have mischief. It depends on the place and where. Nonetheless, there's always a news crew invited to come and take photos. And the groups are getting smaller and smaller. There are protests that I have seen that are literally 6 or 8 people show up. And then they get a tight shot of them all and put them on the news and make it look like there are 40 people or 150 people. But they crowd everybody together real tight so they can get that camera shot behind the news lady saying, there's a big protest here in Washington, D.C., blah, blah, blah. So but the important thing here is that someone like a Kash Patel, when he gets time, which may not be soon, starts to investigate the fact that these people are not protesting, they're terrorizing. They're not there because of what they believe in. They're there because they're getting paid. And I have video of people starting fires in Los Angeles. They're dressed in black from head to toe. They're wearing the mask on their face, and they're going to a dry bed of weeds on the side of the highway and setting them on fire. So I guess the sooner that we exterminate and when I say we, I mean we the people who are being terrorized, exterminate the Soros group, the sooner that we can have peace. But it really doesn't matter who's president. It matters who and where the Soros people are. And they're getting louder and angrier and more violent because their way of funding this crap is being dismantled. And how they fund this crap is not George Soros taking $50 million out of his bank account and funding an NGO. What he does is he takes $100,000 out of his bank account and he starts an NGO. And then he gets a contract with the government to give him $50 million to fund his NGO. And then he uses that $50 million to pay off the protesters who are burning down Tesla dealerships. See, George Soros ain't out no money, okay? He probably hasn't spent more than $20 or $30,000 or $20 or $30 million in the last 10 years. He just needs the seed money to start the NGO, to get the government to be able to legally give him the money to fund all of the havoc and terrorism in which we are being exposed to. That's how this game works. And it's really important that somebody take notice of it and do something about it. Unfortunately, the cities in which most of these crimes happen, the DA belongs to George Soros. And the funny thing is George Soros only gives these DAs and these sheriffs 10 grand out of his pocket. But they get the money and the benefits from the NGOs later on that George Soros owns. So you sit there, for instance, the sheriff in my county has won the last 2 elections. He's very unliked by everyone, including his police force. And he won the last 2 times he ran. And both times he received money from George Soros. Now, the first time it actually said, they changed it, but if you look up the record, it said that he received the money from the Open Arms Organization, which is a George Soros NGO. Now, the funny thing is, and this is why they changed it, because I raised hell about it at the time, is that the George Soros Foundation home office is in Nova Scotia, Canada, which means that sheriff is taking money from a foreign organization, which is treason. Now what they did is they renamed it a PAC. I think it's CPAC or APAC. I think it's APAC because APAC is very bad and part of the I don't even want to get into the Zionists, blah, blah, blah. So, if you're just joining us, the guy in the yellow vest is a group manager. And if you get arrested, he's going to run up to you and you're going to give your serial number or your code number that you were given so they can identify you. They look up your code number. It says the name. This is Mark Smith. He lives here and here. And so we know he's going to the Seattle Police Department because we just saw him taken away with a Seattle cop. This guy is a guy who's been getting checks from that organization for a very long time. So, and that lady is just a dummy who showed up, and she's probably not getting paid at all, I'm guessing. There's another lonely person who's looking for acceptance, so she shows up to join one of these, or she could be one of the actresses that gets hired. But nonetheless, a majority of the people there nowadays are paid. At the beginning, it was very few that were paid, and it was easy for them to get a mob mentality to turn everything to shit real fast. All you need is 4 or 5 people to jump up on a cop car and start smashing windows before you got 50 people doing it. All right, so let's back up. Michigan Swap Hopper! She looks like my dad's wife. I don't know where this is, so... Okay, let me go back to the beginning. Jam says, no shit. Hey, Elon, I think of several thousand volunteers that would love to help with your problem of terrorism. I agree. And it is within our constitutional rights to protect ourselves. We just had a reporter from InfoWars, a guy that's been working with them, I think, for 20 years, was just killed the other night. He was on the Ukraine kill list. So the Ukraine has a list of reporters that they want dead. And ironically, this guy ended up shot several times right outside his apartment on his way to work the other day. So I'm going with Achman's razor, and I'm not going to assume it was just some junkie who was trying to rob him. I'm going to say that it was probably a Ukrainian operative here in the United States trying to shut people up. Why? Because it's the end of the road, and when you know you're losing the fight, you throw everything you got for your last punch. You'll do anything to win. When you know it's over, you'll do anything. Good morning, Brett. I hope you got my text messages. And by the way, speaking of the text messages, for those of you who are hanging out at the Fun Channel, later on today, I am going to review my experience of my first 24 hours on methylene blue. It was very, very interesting. My last 24 hours biologically were by far the most interesting 24 hours that I've had in 20 years. So I hope you guys stop by it. So I'm going to do the 1 day. I think I'm going to do a 7-day review, and then I'll do a 1-month review. And you guys could decide if this is something that you want to do. Archangel Gabriel Priest says the right Christian, it flipped. The right Christian militia would love to have this information. True. I don't think it's a crime to shoot these people because we're protecting our homeland against terrorists. See, the paycheck is what disallows them to call themselves protesters. They're paid to terrorize. Okay, they're not people. They're pretending to be protesters whose emotions got out of hand. But the terrorism that they invoke was planned days before they ever showed up to those rallies. It was the intention of the rally itself to cause the havoc, to cause the terrorism itself. Domestic terrorists, right on, meow. And Michigan says, all good in the hood here. I hope you're all having a good day as well. I do want to keep this short. I will talk to you guys over on the Fun channel later after I take a nap and hit my 24-hour mark, the methane blue. I will tell you within 10 minutes, I could literally feel it in my fingers. Even less than 10 minutes. That's all I'm going to say for now, because there's a lot of things. If you don't know what methane blue is, look it up on YouTube. Watch a short video about it. I can't say it cures things because it only works while it's in your body, but it prevents anxiety, depression. It stops the aging of skin. Its molecules are small enough to go through the blood-brain barrier, so it actually delivers oxygen to the brain, and it enters every cell in your body, and it turns your mitochondria back on high. If you have any and you probably do, and most importantly, and the only reason I took it was for brain fog. So we'll talk about that later. I appreciate you all very much. Some of you I love very much, and you know who you are if I've ever shooken your hand or given you a hug, and a lot of you I have. And I'm very sorry that even after the election that this channel still has to be operating, because I was hoping to have it retired. And based on the numbers of this channel, I could be a very wealthy man if I was to monetize this channel. But then I'd sell out. And I wouldn't sell out in the way that Metallica sold out on the Black Album, but I would sell out in the way where I put the money before the truth. And then soon I'm trying to sell you guys silver and gold and telling you to do that and this. As much as I like Alex Jones, he has a huge staff. He has to pay for those people. But he had to sell out to continue doing what he was doing, or he couldn't do it. I'm not blaming him for that. But the fact is that he can't tell the whole truth. Even though he funds his own thing, he can't tell you the whole truth. He lies all the time. He says, oh, we just got a new shipment of the superhuman strength pills, and they're going to be gone in 3 days, but if you order them right now, you can get them, and we're not going to get another batch for 6 months. That's bullshit. I don't want to blow that bullshit. Let's just keep this simple and just keep this about the truth. And as long as I'm not taking money for what I do on this channel from the evil fucks at YouTube, I'm still okay in my heart. Now, the other channel, by the way, which has nothing to do with politics and was only created to lower your blood pressure for patriots, that channel I'll take the YouTube check, because the agenda there is to have fun. Okay? Not to tell the truth about what's politically happening in America. That channel is about fun. So I don't feel bad taking the money for that channel. So if you'd like to support that channel, and you know where it's at, and it shouldn't be hard to find if you look around this channel, feel free to support that channel in any way you'd like. If you'd like to become a member for $1.99 on that channel, you could do it only on a laptop. In the right-hand corner, it says membership. And you can click on, and there's different levels of membership. Just get the $1.99 one. We used to have them up to $100, and we had people who were members for $100. Name I just read here, there's names in this chat, people paying $50 to be a member. But so to keep that separate, there I won't try and sell you stuff, but I will take the YouTube check. But based on the numbers of this channel, I literally could quit my job if I took the YouTube check on this channel. I could literally quit my job. I could retire today. But I don't want that because the compromises that come with it. And eventually I'm a piece of shit. So I stay poor. I ain't a piece of shit. Nutrabound says, if you love America, everyone should be doing this at no charge. Thank you, Red, for all the time providing us info. I do this because I love you guys and I love my country. And I know you guys love our country just as much as I do. And long-time lurker, thank you. Thank you very much, Karmic. And Archangel says, we like to stay in the shadows. Right, that's why you don't see my face on this channel. If you can post this info here, we can go to work. And Michigan says agreed. And we're going to end on Michigan because for years, he was always the first in the chat and always in the chat. And he that son of a bitch can fish. You should see some of the fish he caught this week. Peace and love worldwide. Live your life before your life lives you. Keep on smiling. Thank you.